whenever we want to talk about ESD, I talk about the concept of 3H. The head, the heart, and the hand.
What I learned through Animal Neighbours project is to understand them is to change our perspective on them.
Welcome back to Pandangan Panda Season 2, where we talk everything about WWF Malaysia because it's WWF Malaysia's official podcast on our YouTube, where we have our four main species that we will talk about. That is the orangutan, the Malayan tiger, the Bornean elephants, and the marine turtles. And we have also other programs in WWF Malaysia, which you can check out on our website, www.wwf.org.my. If you are looking to record your podcast, you're finding a studio, check out Podworks on their social media and website. And if you want to purchase some wonderful merchandise from WWF Malaysia's Panda shop, including this t-shirt, this Panda t-shirt, which was designed in conjunction with Earth Hour 2026. Check out our Panda shop. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to WWF Malaysia's YouTube channel and our social media. As I was saying just now, we do have other programs in WWF Malaysia, and one of them is the Education for Sustainable Development, where we work closely with young people, with youth, with schools, private universities, teachers training college to create awareness, to build awareness about conservation. Well, that is in a nutshell. I have two guests here who will talk further, who will be dive deep into the topic, which is unleashing youth power for conservation, the roadblocks, the truth, and your way in. So we have the Education for Sustainable Development Program Lead, Sugitha, with us from WWF Malaysia.
Hello, Justin.
Right.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, so she's like our regular customer. So this is the second time she's on Pandangan Panda. So you can check her out also in Season 1, where she was there to talk for a different topic, which also about youth. And we have a gentleman here who is currently with Animal Neighbours Projek, ANP, and he was the one of the Eco Champions Award winners that was organized by WWF Malaysia. We have Uvakumar.
Yes, thank you for the invite, first of all. And I'm really happy to be here. And my name is Uva. I'm the project assistant for Animal Neighbours Project. And for those who don't know what is Animal Neighbours Project or what we do, we are actually an NGO that was founded in 2016 by Dr. Shamini Julita Paramasivam from University of Surrey. And we focus a lot on human-wildlife conflict. And what do I mean by human-wildlife conflict is when there is an overlap in resources, for example, space or food, and wildlife come into our area, there will be a conflict. That is what we are trying to resolve. And I will cover more on it hopefully during this podcast.
All right.
So yeah, that is for the introduction. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Yuva, for saving my time because I was supposed to ask you that question.
All right.
This, right? All right. Thanks for giving the introduction and setting the stage. You know, we have someone who is working on human-wildlife conflict. It's a very hot topic right now, especially with what is happening in the news. But Sugitha, right, before we talk about how you can get into conservation and all, how did you started your journey in conservation?
Very interesting question. I will have to take you to a long time ago.
Right, let's go. We're all ready for memory lanes here.
All right. So I come from a very small district in the state of Kelantan. A lot of people don't know this.
In the East Coast?
I'm actually Kelantanese.
Oh.
Saya orang Kelantan.
Right. Oh, okay. Oh.
So I come from this place called Gua Musang.
Yes.
And imagine this, okay? You wake up in the morning, you walk out of your house, and all you can see is mist. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the mist is slowly lifting up. You see a beautiful limestone cave on your way walking to school. Can you imagine how serene and beautiful that would be? And then imagine school going on. You're with your bunch of friends. You only have 1 or 2 buildings in that school. It's a very small school, but that was our world for people who live in such a rural area. And then after school, we would sometimes just lie to our parents saying we have extra extracurricular activities, you know where we would go? Mandi sungai.
Oh, wow.
So we would actually be Tarzans lah. Back then, we had Tarzans, so we would become real-time Tarzans, hanging on to the tree roots, jumping into the tree. And then not enough with that, my dad kind of resonated with that. Every weekend pergi mandi sungai. And we would wash our jeep and our van in the sungai. That is the kind of childhood I came from. And fast forward, I finished my education in Kelantan up to secondary, and then I got an offer to pursue my degree in Multimedia University. So very huge jump. I was a science student back then. I did the usual biology, chemistry, physics. I always thought I would land in a science job because that was always how I was wired. But on the sides, right, I was always a creative person. So then when I didn't get the kind of university offers, I was very dejected. Then my dad said, don't give up lah, try. So I just wrote to Multimedia University applying for a course that would eventually become my career path. So I did a creative multimedia degree in MMU. I'm a proud alumni Permata Dunia of Multimedia University. I started my career as a communicator in the banking sector. I went up to being a communicator under Bank Negara Malaysia. So back then, for a decade or so, I did financial education, right? So same story, but talking about how to manage your money to young people. Very important topic, right? And then after that, after 10 years of being in the corporate, I thought, hey, it's about time to make that move. For some reason, it happens to me every 5 or 10 years. So then I decided I wanted to pursue my true passion, which is teaching. So I spent a decade being a lecturer in university. So when I left the university setting, I was an assistant professor. By that time, I had been designing programs and I had already been midway dabbling with what you would call the MDGs, Millennial Development Goals. Before the SDGs, unknown to many, we had MDGs. So it was I was naturally very attracted to it because growing up in a rural area, there was so much of nature around me. And once we rebuilt our lives in the city, that was one missing link that I always had. And in university, I would find myself often sending kids out of the classroom, sending them on assignments to discover what are the real-time problems that the SDG stated, finding solutions through business assignments, through communications assignments, and that went on. And at the end of that decade, the second decade, so you probably would have already calculated my age by now, but that's okay.
You still look very young.
Thank you very much. I still wanted to do something else. And that's when I thought I'm going to take a career leap. I'm going to move out of my comfort zone and spend the last decade of my working life, perhaps, or two, working in an industry where I can do service to the community, service to the society, service to Mother Nature. And that's how I ended up in WWF-Malaysia.
Right. Amazing. So it's like a long span, from early childhood in Gua Musang, going to the sungai, to have fun with friends, with family, to shower, and then you went to corporate banking, lecturer, and then before you ended up in conservation with WWF-Malaysia. What amazing journey, right? Yeah. So what about you, Yuva? What's your story before Animal Neighbours project? What was that one thing that prompted you that, okay, this is something that I want to do?
Thing for me, right, is very different from Miss Sugis. I started, of course, as a city boy. All I could know about
you were in Kuala Lumpur?
Yes.
Right.
Born and raised here. And the only way for me to get into the conservation or anything that is nature related, right, it is through televisions or storybooks. That's all I know.
You're right.
And when I was young, I know I had a passion for nature and I love animals. I draw them, I talk about them to anyone that I meet, to the point they are so annoyed with me. That includes my parents as well. And when I started my uni at Taylor's University, I did biotechnology. I know it's very, unrelated. But during that time, I was like, you know what, I think this could be my career path, biotechnology. But at the final year, I was planning to apply for internship. And I applied for all the biotechnology internship. And unfortunately, I did not get any. Mind you, my resume was very stacked. Yeah, I did a lot of volunteering work, a lot of different part-time jobs here and there. So I was confident that, okay, you know what, I can land a biotechnology job and let's try. And during that time, it was quite a tough period for me because I was very demotivated. It's like, oh my God, am I not going to get a job soon? How is it going to be? Yeah. And then I sat down. I know I woke up at this one day around 3 a.m. I was thinking, what can I do? What I love the most. And I looked at my childhood and I saw that, why not try conservation? And that's when I applied for my first conservation internship at Pulau Perhentian for the Perhentian Terror Project. And from there, I started falling in love with conservation, education.
Was it the view that made you fall in love first or how?
Oh, for me, I think it's the view, especially Tiga Ruang. If you haven't been to Pulau Perhentian, you have to go to Pulau Tiga Ruang. Yeah. That's the best place. And since then, it's like, maybe conservation is the one for me. And since then, after finishing my internship, I was thinking, okay, what else can I do? Okay, I think I'm really good at what I'm doing as an intern at least. Yeah. And I thought, why not I further my career in this? And that's when I found out about Animal Neighbours Project. I mean, I do know about them based on my previous volunteering experience. But then during that time, I thought, why not I do a career with them? So that's where I started in my career in conservation.
Right, amazing, a beautiful story for Uvakumar. Yeah, young guy who is so passionate in conservation. Okay, Sugi, so now let's dive deep into our topic for today, unleashing youth power for conservation, the roadblocks, the truth, and your way in. Right, so education for sustainable development sits it's like the focal point of your work, right? But there's often people say that there's a gap, like, learning it and actually implementing it, like, putting the work on the ground. So do you see the gap exists, and what are the ways in order to close it, to be closer to these young people's heart? I'm just putting it out there.
Okay. Well, I would say definitely there is a gap. So for people like me whose childhood revolved around nature, and then we talk to people like Uva who actually never had that kind of nature experience, but then fell in love with nature. So I think what Uva experienced is a nature connect. Somewhere along the way, right? He experienced some kind of deep dwelling of his emotion where the nature is concerned. And that is what has gotten him hooked to this subject matter, and he still is in it because there's still some meaning making happening there. But I think it is a journey for anyone, young or old. To love nature, you should either be born surrounded by it, or along the way of your life, you should have an experience or some moments with it, or eventually come to a point where by virtue of your career, you're forced into it, like some of us. Tak pernah masuk hutan and then suddenly kaki kena pacat. I'm not scared of pacat, but I've seen a lot of people who are very, very terrified of pacat.
Kena gigit by sandflies.
Sandflies. We've all had our stories in the field, right? So I think that gap does exist simply because of how we relate to nature, right? How much we've actually had the opportunity to connect with nature. And I was just recollecting how hard or how much of a challenge that can be for young people today, right? They're born as digital natives. They are living in a world where they constantly need to juggle between the real world and the digital world that they are part of. And amidst all of this, we're telling them that, hey, we need you to be young change makers for the planet. It can be a little bit tough to carve out space for that. But having said all of that, I think then we have youth like Uva, who has made such a conscious decision to actually spend more time with nature. And that led to his deeper meaning, and he has stuck on to it. Whenever I meet Uva, I feel very proud. Him and Juliana, the kind of work they've done, the kind of fundings they've secured and continue to secure, the kind of recognition and support they get. I'm always a proud mummy of all my eco-champions because I see them making waves. I see them walking into uncharted territories. We gave them a grant and we mentored them. We held their hand a little bit, not too much. But these are young people who decided that, hey, you know what? I want to move out of my comfort zone, out of my very comfortable digital world and my very comfortable studies, maybe not so comfortable, where the career might be carved out for me, and take the unknown path. Take a path where youth in my peer circle usually won't take. So these are some of the very different people who want to carve out a different kind of future for themselves. I would say that the more we expose young people to what can be, the more interested they become into what could be. So I think for Uva, going to Pulau Tioman was an eye-opener.
Yes.
And that's what we strive to do through our work at ESD, in short, to create that nature connect, to get everyone to have a feel that we as human, right, we always think nature and I are two different things. But when you really think about it, you're also a living being, Homo sapien, that is actually developed alongside all the other living beings coexisting in this ecosystem. So are we really that different from nature, or are we actually a very beautiful part of nature that needs to keep preserving, keep conserving, and so that for the many generations to come, there is something beautiful to pass on.
Yeah, so it actually starts from the young people, right? So they are the future leaders. They need to, actually everyone plays a role, but then again, for the young people, it's very crucial because for the next 50 years, it depends on them. So, Yuval, so going back to Sugi's point, do you see like that gap when you were in university where there's interest, but then again, they just don't know how to get into it?
Okay, I think I would be a good example for it because I came from an Indian family where they only want me to make money.
Yes.
And I never had a guidance on how to get into conservation. And all they said is, okay, study well, go to a good university. That's it. You're settled for it. But the issue is, no, it wasn't always the case. And I wasn't the best student. I'll be very honest with you. And I think where we struggle is, of course, finding out how we can involve with it.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like a lot of our youngsters, they haven't found their purpose yet. You know? So I think when we show them a way to connect to their purpose, that could be anything. For me, I think I struggled to find my purpose until I had to self-reflect. I believe if universities or even families or even your friends, if you guys can gather up together and think about, hey, what can we do? Or what do you think that we can do is very impactful for us and also for our values. I think that's where we can bridge the gap. So that is my take on this.
Right, perfect. Find your purpose, find your passion, and live your passion this year, right? Yeah, okay. Right, Sugi, so just now you were saying about there's some gaps, some barriers, but so from what Yuva said, I'm sure there's not lack of interest, right? I mean, but do you think that it's like there's perhaps a gap in the system that do not include them meaningfully, like having start into the syllabus from young or something like that?
Ecological studies has been around since the 1980s. But I suppose there's this concept I want to talk about. I talk about it all the time when I talk to teachers, school leaders, government officials. Whenever we want to talk about ESD, I talk about the concept of 3H. The head, the heart, and the hand, right? So in school, we are very much into cognitive development.
Right. That's right. 100%,
so we give a lot of knowledge and we assess the knowledge through a very formal assessment method. And I'm sure we all went to national school, right? So we did learn our geography, our sungai, our tanah and all that, right? But I think learning it alone may have not been enough for us to relate back to what's our responsibility towards nature. We know it as a knowledge, okay, but what do we do with that knowledge?
Oh, yeah. How do you use it, right?
How do you use that knowledge? And then how do you go further? So that kind of, and then practical, we're very good, Gotong royong di sekolah, taman herba di sekolah. Schools are very good. Even now you go to schools, they have very nice kolam ikan and all that. Tapi the missing thing is one thing, the heart. How much do we actually feel for what we do, right? So WWF-Malaysia, through the ESD program, has actually been doing a lot of systemic change work. In fact, our goal is to create a very flourishing ESD ecosystem where all the key players in this ecosystem, we have the government, we have the youth leaders, the youth, we have CSOs, NGOs, we have teachers and a few other key players in this ecosystem where they are all enabled, they're all connected with one another in some way or other, and they're supporting each other so that we have such a nice, flourishing ESD ecosystem. So at the apex of this is policy. So we spent the last couple of years, I think WWF has been working with the Ministry of Education for more than 20 years. This year, our dream came true. You know why I say that? Because not only were we invited since the past 2 years by the Ministry of Education to champion a national ESD and global citizenship coalition. This coalition has been a formation of key players in this industry, including UNSDSN, Amanah Lestari Alam, Prof. Dr. Subarna Sivapalan, an expert in ESD, Prof. Esther Nyanamalar from University Malaya, who is also an expert in ESD, Green Growth Asia Foundation. So these are all the key players who are driving this ESD space in this country. So you imagine when these key players who work separately, including WWF, come together and form a coalition. You cannot say no to a power like that. So we went on to literally challenge a lot of groups to say that we must include sustainability in our syllabus. If we don't do it now, we talk about a great future for our children. What kind of future is that if the planet is degrading continuously? So that got people thinking. And that led, long story short, to the inclusion of a key thrust called Kemampanan in our Malaysian education plan, which was launched this year. So it's a very big win for us. Today, I can safely say our curriculum will be retrofitted with sustainability elements. If it already has, it will be amplified. Our students will be tested on this, not only through formal assessments, but also through project-based learning, which is far more interesting actually. Our teachers will be educated, will be trained to be competent enough to run this in the schools. And that's not enough. Our curriculum is retrofitted, our teachers. But school leaders will also be trained to champion and transformatively lead. We'll have a system that the ministry will use to have a benchmarking. When you say saya sekolah hijau, what makes you a sekolah hijau? Tahap gold or silver or gangsa? Which one is it? How do you reach into that status? So we're building an entire ecosystem hand in hand with the Ministry of Education. But the work doesn't stop there. This is a 10-year blueprint. Right? So we probably be able to see the effect of it in the next few years. So WWF is supporting this work not only through a policy means. We've been working with Institute Pendidikan Guru Malaysia, IPGM, to actually work with youth like you guys, but teachers who are youth. To train them when they are in the institutions itself, before they go out and meet the students, and to create that multiplier effect. Imagine recently we worked and trained about 370 pre-service teachers. They went out and affected about 11,000 students. Can you see the magnitude when teachers are trained? So, and we continue working with youth like Uva, who through Eco Champion Awards, this year we've got something exciting. I will share a little bit more after this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's a huge milestone for WWF Malaysia, to eventually have to work closely with the policymakers, with the Ministry of Education, to include sustainability, and not just it's a nice have to know, but how to execute it, which is very important, right? Something that it could be lacking those days, right? How to execute something that you learn. All right, so so I'm sure that you with animals, Neighbours project, you do work with university students and so on, right?
Yep.
But do you hear any hesitations from them sometimes about, this volunteer work, why am I doing this and so on? Because, why I'm asking this, because now social media is like, everyone wants to be an influencer, all right, with the young people, right? So how do you convince, or how do you manage these hesitations from them?
Okay, so the first thing that I always hear from any volunteers here who wants to join ANP, first thing that they say or they ask me is like, oh, Mr. Yuva, but I don't know much about conservation. Or they say that, but then I don't have time. I don't think so I have the right skills for it. But what I always tell them is that conservation or any field that you want to volunteer in, just try first.
Just go for it, yeah?
Yes, just go for it. I think I would say that you can't be a pro instantly. It will take some time. I think first there should be an emotional connection for them first. And what I usually do with university students is to tell them why you are here to volunteer. I think a lot of youth, like you say, they want to be influencers and many more, right? I think they want to know their why first.
Yeah.
Once you tell them the why, okay, today we are here because we are going to be learning about the environment and why is this important to you. And from there, I feel like I can able to get a lot of volunteers in. and not only get them to do help us with work or help us to work. I feel like we are empowering them by making them to become youth advocates for nature. And in my case, for Animal Neighbours Project, we are creating youth advocates for human-wildlife coexistence. So that is my take on this.
Right. Wow. That's pretty interesting. Right. But I would like to find out.
Can I say something? I mean, just to jump in, right? Advocacy is often, we always hear this. We need to have youth representation in the table, whatever policy decision making. But to what extent is that representation? To what extent are we preparing our students to play that advocacy role? Sometimes that is a very big word to throw on young people, and it's very scary sometimes when you say, oh, you guys must be youth advocates. But I just want to remind young people that there are many steps to advocacy. Right? If you can go back and convince your parents to not use problematic and unnecessary single-use plastic, right? Replace with reusable bag, that's also advocacy.
Yep.
Right? It's not about always sitting in a room full of important people and throwing out your ideas and trying to sound important. No. Advocacy is beyond all that. Going to your local pasar malam and telling the makcik-makcik, banyak yang pakai plastik macam mana kita nak solve problem ni besok nanti anak cucu kita juga yang susah. Being able to take that conversation at that level is also advocacy. And I think people like Uva have actually tried to do it so well. Given the rise of human-wildlife conflict in this country, I think we look at animals as very separate from us, and we have a very different way of treating animals. We always see them as a threat.
Correct.
And they see us as a threat.
Yes.
A feeling is mutual, they say.
Yes.
Right? So how do we advocate for them if we don't try to understand them and see how similar we are? Not much difference, actually. We all want a piece of this space that we have been created on to live a better life, human or animal alike. Right? And it starts, to be an advocate, it starts with that understanding.
Yeah, so you don't have to, start big. You start with the smallest things, from your home, your neighbors, your local community, right? It's like small steps eventually get to those bigger ones, because you have to gain attention first, right?
Betul.
I suppose, right? So Yuva, you were saying that, in Animal Neighbours Project, you work in human-wildlife conflict. So maybe you can share more about it. Is it like the monkeys that comes to disturb the house, or how?
Alright, so for human-wildlife conflict, I think I can say a bit about my personal story.
Yeah.
I used to hate them. Not even hate them, I think despise them is the correct word. Because I had a lot of these negative experiences where they take my food.
Yeah.
They tried to come into my house, and they also did actually damage my car windshield. Because they were very curious. Back then, I didn't understand why they are doing this. And what I learned through Animal Neighbours Project is to understand them is to change our perspective on them. Alright. So what I learned is I need to understand why they are doing this first. Initially, I was like, oh, maybe they just they want to be thieves, or they want to steal food just for fun. But then I realized the actual problem is two different things, which is habitat destruction, that is overtaking a lot of places and in a lot of areas as well. Another one more thing is the food resources for them. And for monkeys' case, what I realized is that they don't wake up every day thinking, you know what, today I'm going to go to his house and I'm going to do something bad. No, they are there because they want to survive. Just like us, how we wake up every day, we go to work because we want to put food on our plate. Same thing with them. And from there, what I realized that a lot of people need to understand this. Because if they don't understand, they take actions that are not desirable, not only for us, also for the environment. They start killing the monkeys, trying to come up with methods that are not really animal welfare safe, and which cause the population of these monkeys, especially the long-tailed macaques, I do talk a lot about them because they are actually endangered all around the world. I know everyone's right now saying, oh, you are, but I always see this kera, the long-tailed macaques, everywhere I go.
Oh, they're actually endangered?
Yes, exactly. This is the very first question people ask me when I talk about human-wildlife conflict.
I don't know. And I thought there were plenty.
Okay, yeah, you always see them, but the issue is you see them in your area, but never in the forest. And one good example I can give you is when I was in Taman Tugu for World Environmental Day, I was talking to people. So, do you see any monkeys in the forest? They say, oh no, I always see them by the road.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, by the road. Well, what are they doing by the road? they were asking for food.
Yes.
Which is why we always see them around your area, because they are there for food and they really don't want to go back to the forest. So we have changed their habits and their behavior to be dependent more on us. And from there, when there is the distance that is reduced between humans and monkeys, that's when the negative interaction happens that could lead to human-wildlife conflict.
Right. So only monkeys, maybe other animals, do you also work on that?
Yes, we work on other animals as well, such as otters. We are doing something exciting, and hopefully by August we would post that and promote on that. And also we're working on bats. Bats, because ever since the Nipah virus outbreak happened, I think earlier this year, it caused a lot of problem to a lot of communities. They were super scared. Again, the same thing, they wanted to kill them, they wanted to remove them in some way. And we intervened. Miss Juliana is the one who's leading that human-bat conflict. So she have engaged with a lot of communities and given them mitigation strategies on how to reduce the human-wildlife conflict on that.
Right. Looking forward to the updates.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
You'll be posting it on your social media, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right, check them out. Yeah. So, Sugitha, I'm sure there's a lot of efforts being taken by WWF to include youth in conservation. So perhaps you can share, so what are some of the responses? And besides also, maybe we can talk about this book.
I want to start with the book.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go.
Okay, so this is a giant storybook, right? As you can see. The name is Kehidupan Sari Si Penyu Karang. Okay, I will open one or two page lah.
Let's go for it.
To show everyone. So it actually is about the life of the hawksbill turtle. How it starts when the mummy turtle lays the egg. From there, what happens? How they scuttle, run right into the beach. And then how they go through the lost years. And then what all threat they have to deal with in order to survive. And then I'm going to go straight to the end. How they because of people like us who care about them, they can still sustain and survive. And the cycle goes on. They come back to the same beaches they are born in order to lay their eggs.
Wow, that's even a puzzle. Very nice.
Okay, so we've developed a book like this. This is giant. We take it everywhere. But we have a smaller version.
Okay.
And then we have also this here called Lost and Found. It's a journey of Bulan with a Malayan sun bear. So this was done in collaboration with Me Books as a publisher. WWF wanted to get more publishers to publish conservation stories. So we came up with this very, very, very cute book with native species, Malayan species, about 50 species. And the story goes, I'll just show you one page lah. Too much to show.
Some beautiful colours.
Very nice. There you go.
Shark.
Right? So it's very exciting, right? When we see things like this. So for children, for even adults like us, looking through something like this creates a sense of meaning.
That's
It's the starting of a nature connect. I always say this to whoever that say, very hard lah to create nature connect. I say, yes, bringing children into outdoor spaces can have its own set of challenges. But then, what is stopping you from bringing the ocean into the classroom? What is stopping you from bringing the human-wildlife conflict into the classroom? Can be done, right? We can role play and create understanding, right? So these are some of the efforts, creating learning material. We're making all of this available on our website for teachers, for parents, homeschoolers, whoever that wants to download these resources. It's free for you. In fact, it's not just WWF-Malaysia. If you go and search any WWF around the world, they have their own sets of resources. Our counterpart in India runs the One Planet Academy. It's an online e-learning site that is full of resources. So this is to parents, to teachers. If you're looking for resources, please check it out. WWF-Malaysia is also collating more localized resources in Bahasa Melayu and a few other languages so that we can share them on our website for usage of others. Now that is at a school level. I'm more excited to also talk about our youth engagement programs. So every year we're out with something. In 2023, we did the Climate Communication Challenge. We got people to read the Net Zero report and come up with creative representations of the Net Zero Report. And in 2024, you were alongside another 8 champions, did the Eco Champion Awards. There was a mix of climate change as well as biodiversity conservation projects that happened. So since last year, we've been working on a project called Malaysia Jom Pack.
Ooh, wow, that's exciting. Can you tell us some more? Yeah.
Jom Pack tu maksud dia Jom Plastic Action.
Oh,
So we launched it. YB Fahmi Fazil, he launched it in IPG College Bahasa Melayu, Pantai Dalam. And then we've got very good support from YB. Thank you to him. And then we have gone across the country to so many campuses. I think over 20 campuses to talk about Malaysia Jom Pack. We have created an expert-led masterclass. We have about 1,000 students who have registered. We just translated it to Bahasa Melayu. So it's open pada siapa-siapa yang nak belajar tentang plastik sekali guna. Bolehlah login kepada Malaysia Jom Pack Learning Platform. You learn about things like what is problematic and single-use plastic ni sebenarnya. Is it wrong for me to go to the mamak and order teh ais kau ikat tepi mangkuk or not?
Yeah.
Now it gets us thinking, right?
Right.
And then we also have real-time experiences. We launched a program called Turun Padang. We took a bunch of young people, youth like you guys, who was there on one of the workshop days. It was a 4-day workshop. The most meaningful of that workshop, we got partners from Maria, from Ajinomoto, SIG to come and talk to young people. Young people ask them so many questions. Why you still use single-use plastic? Right?
Wow.
And,
put them on the spot.
On the spot.
Oh.
And they provided answers. They provided mechanisms on what they have been doing about it. Because like it or not, businesses do realize the damage that is being done.
Yes, that's right.
Right? And in Malaysia, while our extended producer responsibility is still very voluntary, we want to push for compulsory EPR, right? When everybody needs to responsibly manage their plastic output, then Malaysia can become a better place because the plastic churn is really, really big in our country.
That's right.
Malaysia memang boleh bila datang pada plastik sekali guna. And then, the most exciting thing which is happening this month, we have actually also been talking to teachers. We're working with IPG to co-develop an SDG module which they are going to be launching in IPG for all the teachers. Imagine every teacher that comes out from IPG sudah SDG enabled. So the kind of output you get in schools could be very different.
Right.
So these are all some very exciting stuff that we're doing.
Yes. Oh yeah, I just want to ask you, is this book available to purchase?
This book can be purchased. You need to come to WWF-Malaysia lah.
Yes.
But can also go to Me Books and Me Books distribution channels. It's available in their outlets, bookshop outlets. So you can check it out online. I'm sure they have listed where these books are available. So go and pick it up. I think you will love it. Especially parents who have children. This is a very nice bedtime book.
Yeah, bedtime stories, right? Right, perfect. So, Yuva, as we are coming closer to the end of our podcast, so I would like to ask you, what is your most memorable moments working in conservation as a young professional?
Okay, I think I will stick with Animal Neighbours project first. I do have a lot of great memories across different NGOs working in the conservation field. For Animal Neighbours project, this is for me the most memorable moment, which is when I was on the research field, where I was conducting behavior study on monkeys, just looking at the monkeys. And what I noticed is that my volunteers, they weren't really involved in it. As in, like, they were just there, just looking at them, they're not taking any records. You can see they're not really involved in it. But after 2 to 3 months, being with me talking to them, educating them about human-wildlife conflict, why this is important, I started seeing a lot of changes in them.
Yeah.
And I've seen them taking a lot of initiatives in terms of talking to people and how they talk to people about human-wildlife conflict. Initially, all they say is just, Animal Neighbours project, we are just reducing human-wildlife conflict. But never how we can change the perspective of people and how we can reduce human-wildlife conflict. And I've got a lot of volunteers who have done that. I think one of my favorite one, her name is Joey. She's one of the RASMA volunteers who joined us last year. I got to see her improve, like in real time, from being a very shy person and never knew anything about human-wildlife conflict. But after 2-3 months, I saw her as a different person. She can communicate well, she can talk about human-wildlife conflict and apply all the knowledges that she learned from us in her daily life. From respecting the monkeys as a wildlife by, maintaining a safe distance, from taking pictures without using flash and not feeding the monkeys. All these examples, she was doing it. And for me, I believe as a project assistant and me leading the volunteers, for me, that has been the best conservation memory that I can have with Animal Neighbours Project.
All right. So these are some of the skills that you learned from the Eco Champions Award, and now you are putting it down to those volunteers who are interested in Animal Neighbours Project.
Yes.
How amazing, right? It creates an ecosystem, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
And can I add more on the ECA? So for when ECA project was going on, so the name of the project that we did under ECA was Green Learning, Kind Living. It's an educational program to promote human-wildlife coexistence among the youth. I only joined towards the end of the program. So I only joined Animal Neighbours Project during that time. And it was actually mostly led by Miss Juliana, who is my project manager. So during that time, just like all the participants, I didn't know anything about human-wildlife conflict. But through the education program, that's when I got to learn we are not just raising awareness, we are changing perspectives of the youth on the wildlife.
Yes.
So I think that was a great place for me to start. So thanks to you guys again that I got to learn about human-wildlife conflict and together with all the volunteers. So yeah. Thank you.
Right. So you also can be like you want to be a volunteer to join like our conservation efforts. You can just check out our social media platforms, the Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and maybe just write an email to us. So perhaps if we have some projects that we need volunteers, you can be part of it. All right, so I have the final 2 questions. All right, so these are a bit general, but this is some of the questions that I put in just to have a new perspective, right, about what we look in conservation. Okay, so maybe we can start with Sugi first. Okay, so if you had the power for 10 minutes, right, to push through any policy, one policy, what would that be?
I would have youth representation in the parliament.
Ooh, wow.
Because I think we always talk about youth voice need to be heard, need to be included in meaning-making, decision-making. But have we actually given them a space to do that? A lot of times I've been in rooms bringing together young people, getting their opinion, submitting input. WWF, we always do this. Whenever there is a policy input, we are the ones reaching out to all the youth groups that we know to collate that input and submit. But my question is, I hope there will be a time where youth leaders will be given an opportunity to sit in the parliament. If not permanent sitting, at least opportunities to be there, to understand the democratic process. It's a two-way process. And to be able to contribute their voice, because let's face the fact, we are giving these young people, this next generation, a sick planet. It's very unfair to them. I don't blame them for being disinterested in anything, because we already give them a lot of reasons to have eco-anxiety.
That's right.
And to ask them to have hope amidst of all this, people like Uva is exceptional. And I have met so many young people who tell me that stop fear-mongering. Just tell us what you want us to do. What can we do to make a change, a more positive change? And today, if you go online, young people are more aware about the environmental issues than ever before. They are not a generation you need to teach, hey, the planet is sick. They know the planet is sick. They just want to know what actions they can take. So just to answer your question, well, if the parliament is too far a reach, I think we need more hands on board. WWF, the conservation world itself needs more hands on board. Yes, we understand that volunteers may not have all the experiences in the world, and that's why you're a volunteer, to gain experience. So at WWF, this is an open call, an open invitation to young people out there. We're rolling out a rather special volunteer program soon. And this volunteer program, a lot of people come to us, oh, I want to volunteer in the field. Justin, not easy to go in the field, right?
You need permits.
You need safeguards. You need to be trained. Even for people like us who are part of WWF, it's not a straightforward process.
True.
But do you know that there are a lot of things we need volunteers with? It's not just the inaction kind of work.
That's right. Yeah.
We need people who can do editing for us. We need people who can be spokesperson for us. We need people who can take up projects, put up signages in local parks so that people understand the kind of biodiversity context that we have in local parks. We need young people to sometimes just give us a couple of hours to help co-design a strategy document. There's so much young people can do with the limited time that you can give to us. So my question is, what's stopping you from doing that? If you know you can give us some hours of your time and maybe not a few weeks, a few months, we welcome you to come and talk to us. We always have something for young people to do and learn.
There's always something that you can contribute, not just on the field, but also like our events that we do, right? Build posters, video editing, and so on. We are always looking for volunteers. Okay, so you want to say something?
Yeah, is it okay to if I add on
Yes,
on
sure,
Ms.
go for
Sugi's
it.
point? So she said that youth can be involved in it, right?
Yeah.
They could be from any field. So some of the volunteers that we have gotten in the past, they are from the marketing field, from the psychology field, and also business field. All they ask me is like, how this volunteering experience is going to help my resume or my future job opportunities. The first thing I always tell them, when it comes to wildlife conservation, you could have all the type of skills and you can apply them in different ways. There is not just one way for you to apply or give an impact in the conservation field. Marketing, social media, we can teach them on, at least for ANP, we can teach them on how certain posts that you make on social media, let's say regarding like any wildlife, right, can influence human-wildlife conflict.
Indeed.
That is a topic that is, for me, is like really undercovered. Not many people talk about it. That's one thing. And for businesses, we can talk to them how biodiversity loss can also impact the economy. And for psychology students, not much, but I would tell them that you can develop your communication skills. You could be the best in your topics, but if you struggle to communicate properly, I'm sorry, you won't be able to convey your point or make an impact in any field, not only wildlife conservation, in any field. So these are the things that I want to highlight for youth. So if youths, you guys are not sure about joining our conservation field, just join first. Whatever skills you have, join. Eventually you'll find a way to make an impact.
All right.
I just want to add something to what Yuva said. Whether you learn the technical stuff or not in conservation, by joining experiences like this, you learn to find your meaning.
True.
What's your bigger purpose in life? Maybe you may start with a small why, and then that why becomes, it goes through a process, and the why becomes a little bit bigger. I think for people like you and me, our why is so much bigger now, right?
Yeah.
And that meaning-making experience is important. In that process, building your character, your personality, who you are, is very important. A lot of times what we've noticed through our programs is that emergence, like butterfly, when they join us, they are like the larva, and then suddenly after 1 year or so, we see them spreading their wings, their beautiful wings, and it's always the most satisfying process for us when young people can do that. So this is that opportunity to become that.
Yeah, right. So building them to instill conservation values, and eventually they can be like Yuva to spread that message across your network, your community, and also among the youth. Okay, Yuva, last but not least, okay, if you can push one policy for 10, if you have the power to push one policy in for 10 minutes.
Can I say 2 policies though?
Okay, go for it.
Just 2 policies. I'll make it very quick.
Yeah.
The first policy is waste management, but in respect to human-wildlife conflict.
Yeah.
When it comes to waste management, there's a lot of policies that focus on, recycling, upcycling, focusing on plastics, but not on wildlife. We have to remember, I'll give you one good example. Monkeys, they come to an area for food, right? 2 ways they can get food. Okay, then one more way I'll cover on the other policy.
Yeah.
One of the main thing that we realized or we found out through our workshops and engaging with communities, right, is waste management, improper waste management. They take their trash, they put in the trash bins, they never secure it. What I mean by secure it is by, let's say, by locking the bins, or actually putting the trash into the trash bin itself. All right, these things need to be put into a policy where it need to be more stricter.
Yeah.
People need to secure their trash bins because this attracts wildlife to the area. Once it attracts wildlife, that's when the human-wildlife conflict happens, property damage, injury to people, or even spreading disease for both humans and wildlife. It goes both ways when it comes to human for disease spreading. And next one is another policy that I want to highlight is no feeding wildlife policy. Looks very simple, but believe it or not, if you go to any green spaces right now, right, if there's any animal over there, that could be fish, that could be a duck, that could be an otter, that could be a monkey, you will see someone feeding the wildlife. And it might look not so harmful, you might look like the Mother Teresa of wildlife, right?
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it does make a big impact. And I will give you a good example. I used to feed monkeys when I was young because, I was at Batukes.
You thought the monkey looked cute,
exactly
hungry.
Yeah, exactly. They look hungry because one of them looks very skinny, but that's actually how they're supposed to look, right? But if you go to Bukit Kiara or any other places, you can see the monkeys are like, I'm not body shaming them, but they are not supposed to be looking like that.
Yeah, they don't be fat, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Another one.
Yeah.
Another one more thing is they build dependency on us.
Yeah.
They lose their natural foraging skills, and that's why they come towards us more often. And let's say for me, I'm quite used to monkeys. It's like, oh, okay, I can feed them. But let's say someone else, right? Person B, they never seen, they are not so comfortable with monkeys. When the monkeys approach them thinking, oh, this guy might be able to give me food, they don't know how to react. Let's say they try to shoo them away. That's when another human-wildlife conflict could happen, which is monkeys defending themselves by attacking you.
That's when they are desperate, right?
Exactly. So we have done a lot of signboards as one of our mitigation strategy for no feeding the wildlife. But if you ask me, it is ineffective in a way. How? It's like, okay, I'll give you a good example. There was this one guy feeding the monkeys right in front of the signboard. I asked him, Abang, you can't be feeding the monkeys here. And he said, oh, who said that? Can you see the signboard? He said, it's okay. Nobody's gonna fine me.
Fine me.
Yes.
Ooh,
Enforcement.
Wow. Yeah, enforcement.
So I was talking to a lot of these policymakers and the government authorities, right? I was asking them, so wait, this thing is bad, right? Not feeding wildlife, but why are you guys not, giving them a fine?
Yeah.
Enforcing the law on this. They say, because it's not stated in the policy.
Yeah.
So one such policy is the Wildlife Conservation Act of 2010. They have everything. For example, no touching, not keeping wildlife as pests, not injuring them, not killing them. But there's no policy or statement for enforcement for not feeding wildlife. I feel like if we put it in there, we can make a lot of difference.
Interesting policy setting improvement.
So Sugitha has a previous mentor, ex-mentor. I don't know whether you're still a mentor to you. What do you think about these two policies that he wants to push when he has the power?
Well, I think as a youth, right, they have a lot of superpowers.
Right.
They have a lot of superpowers. First superpower. You know what's your first superpower? You're a voter. That's the biggest superpower you young people have. Right? So, as a voter, exercise your right.
Yeah.
Right to your local MPs.
Right.
I think member of parliaments, from what I've seen through our work, they are very supportive of what we do. They relate to nature, and whoever it may be, they all want a better future for their children.
Yeah.
Use sentiments like this in your work. Write to them. Create a movement. I mean, if 4 people can actually call the government to task on our forest cover, we can do a lot more when it comes to feeding wildlife. It's a big no. But a lot of people don't understand why it's a big no. But to me today, right, if you don't understand something, you can look it up. You can build that understanding. It's not something like it's rocket science. No. But when you build up the understanding, what needs to happen? You have discovered it. So what needs to happen next? So we are always supportive of wildlife conservation. We will always continue to lend mentorship. If Yuva and team wants to take it up at policy setting, talk to ministries. We are partners with the NRES. They're very open to suggestions. I think we can always facilitate that space for this conversation to happen. And a lot of times they are very happy to have these conversations. So I think there's a value in coming together and working together. Partnership and collaboration is the all-time secret sauce of conservation.
Right, that's right. So thank you so much, Sugi. Thank you so much, Yuva, for being part of Pandangan Panda Season 2. some great insights, knowledge sharing, and also some wonderful experience and advice on how youth can do their part in conservation. So if you'd like to contribute to WWF-Malaysia's conservation efforts, click on the link below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as there are many more wonderful content just for you guys. And if you're looking to record a podcast, you're finding a studio, check out Podworks on their website and social media, and also our Panda shop if you like to purchase this beautiful Panda tea in conjunction with Earth Hour 2026. My name is Justin Ang, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.